Hey everyone, welcome to the Optimized Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Sargent. Today, I'm going to help you work out how to make decisions about your practice or how to make decisions in your practice. And I'm going to give you a few frameworks so that you can use these as you go through this journey, this fabulous journey of building a healthcare practice. But let me first ask you a question. Think of T-junction or roundabout, and you come to the T-junction or whatever your favorite junction is, right? Come to a T-junction. Do you turn left or do you turn right? How do you make that decision? Do you turn left or do you turn right? It depends where you're going. And that's the first step of decision making about a practice, is that we actually don't want to make decisions too regularly about our direction. First, we have to know where we're going. Right, so we're going to create a vision. Like if I was going to go on a journey in a car, I've got to go, well, where am I actually heading to? And I might put that in the sat nav. And then when I get to each junction, it's going to tell me, you got to go left here, you got to go right here, you got to straight up. And so that becomes our guiding principle. That becomes our framework. It becomes our backbone of how we make decisions. Because I see building a healthcare practice very much like building your dream house. It's the analogy we use. It's one of the very first things we do with a practice owner is we take stock of exactly where they are right now. What's the truth? What's the 1 month snapshot of where you are right now? And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then we go, where do we want to go 12 months time? Where do we want to go 3 to 5 years time? So just like building your dream house, you don't suddenly go onto a building site and just start randomly laying bricks going, oh, where should we lay this? Well, should we put a wall there? I don't know. Should we put a wall there? Well, I think a window should go there. What is it? If you're trying to design it while you're building it, you're going to end up with an absolute mess. So step one about decision making is first give yourself this backbone, this framework, this clear vision. And that's in two parts. That's 12 months and 3 to 5 years time. A great project manager or a builder will then come on site and go, well, we've got the map. We know where we should be putting the walls and we know what it's going to look like and everything. So our job is to build it. We don't want to be making decisions about it. There might be a few decisions along the way or some adjustments, but as much as possible, we want it planned out in advance. So first stage is architect phase. And I always say, like when working with someone that for in the short term, we are their consultant architect, right? And we sit with them, we go, hey, before we lay bricks, what do you want this to look like? Because you've got some different options. Do you want a bungalow? Do you want 4-story house? Do you want it big? Do you want it small? Do you want it, so many differences. It's the same with a healthcare practice. Here are the little snapshots that we look at, and we'll do a vision today, a 1 month snapshot, 12 months and 3 to 5 years. So here's what we look at. We go, okay, how many rooms have you got and how many sites? Hopefully you've got one site because it's easier. But do you have 1 room? Do you have 2 rooms, 3 rooms, 5 rooms? How many sites do you have? And then we look at the team and we go, okay, do you have admin team? And do you have practitioner team? And then for each of those, we look at, let's say maybe you have no admin. Maybe you have 1 admin, but they do 2.5 days a week. So we would call that a 0.5 full-timer. Same with practitioners. We go, okay, how many people have we got as practitioners? Maybe you got 5 people, but they only do a day a week. Well, that's still only the equivalent of 1 full-timer. And that's okay, but it's a very different sort of model. So before we analyze it, we just go, we look at the truth of what that 1 month snapshot is. So we know our property, now we know our people, then we've got to look at the average spend. On average, how much are people spending with us? Then we look at how many appointments each month. So just look into your practice management software for last month, go, how many appointments were there? We look at the turnover. So you can either do it this way. If you've got the turnover figure, you take the turnover, divide it by the amount of appointments, and that will give you your average spend. Or if you know how many appointments and you know your average spend, you go, I'll take the 200 appointments and I'll multiply it by £50 and my turnover is £10,000. So there's my snapshot. So the hard work is then done with creating that vision of, right, all right, if Santa sent an elf with this, we call it a little clinic vision creator, with this little bit of paperwork going, right, fill this out. Santa says, whatever you want in 12 months time, you've got to tell him, you've got to fill it out in here and deliver it to you. And then fill out this column, that's 3 to 5 years time. Ideally, what do you want it to look like in 3 to 5 years time? So we've got to decide, okay, is our property fit for purpose? If it is, like we've got 1 site and we've got 3 rooms, we've got plenty of space to grow, means we don't have to move. And so we then look at, what do we then need to change with the people? Do we need more people? And what do we need to change with the appointments? So again, like a healthcare practice really is, have we got the space, number of rooms? Have we got the people, i.e. the hands to be able to treat people? And if so, how many appointments, how many patients do we want coming through the door? each week, each day, each month. Right? That's a number, and we need to know that number first, right? Then average spend is around, are we actually charging enough? Do a whole different podcast. I have done a whole different podcast on that. Then we high five with the architect and we go, right, this is what we're going to build. And I'm excited about this. And this is our 12-month vision. And this is our 3 to 5 year vision. If we don't have that, it's really hard to make decisions about our practice because we have no idea where we're going. Also, when we have a team, we need to be able to say to the team, hey, team, here's where we're going. Who's with me? All right. We've got to be able to demonstrate clear direction to our team so they know they're part of something bigger than themselves, and that a practice owner has some direction for their future. So that's step one about making decisions in your practice. Most decisions, we don't want to be making the decisions whilst we're building. As much as possible, we want to make the decisions upfront for the year. And what we do is we review quarterly. Every quarter we go, okay, building this big house, but that's too big to build in one go. Right, let's look at the next 90 days. What do we want to do? Okay, well, if rock 1, rock 2, rock 3, let's say we've got 3 rocks, as we call them, or little projects. First, let's build the foundations, and then we're going to flatten the thing. Okay, great. Those are going to be our 2 rocks. What's the next quarter? So at the end of Q1, we review. Where are we at? Great. What's next? Okay, now we're going to lay the floor and we're going to start building those walls. Great. And so on and so forth. We've got our clear vision. That's step one of good decision making. And all the decisions sort of hang off that, the main framework, the main backbone of that journey. Right, next thing, and I'm going to give you a few different ideas here, some of the frameworks for use. An English Olympic rower called Ben Hunt Davis, and just prior to the Sydney Olympics, for the first 2 years, the rowing team, I think it was 7s or 8s, they said, hey, if we want to win the Olympic Games, what do we have to do? And they came up with this philosophy that we're going to be really brutal about one thing, and we're going to constantly ask ourselves the question, will this make the boat go faster? So again, they had a 2-year vision. I've talked about a 1 year and a 3 to 5 year vision. They had a 2-year vision, which was, we want to win Olympic gold. Right. Okay. Now everything is pointing towards that. So everything that we decide upon between now and then gets run through the filter of, will this make the boat go faster? Right. Training on the rower for 70 minutes. Will it make the boat go faster? Yes. Okay. Unfortunately, we're going to have to do that. Right. Going to the pub. Will this make the boat go faster? Well, unfortunately not. So we shouldn't do that. Should we paint the boat a different color? That's a good one. Oh, well, let's paint our practice. Let's make the reception look totally different. Will it make the boat go faster? Probably not. Right. So we always have that as our guiding principle. If it's not going to get us to our goal, then we don't do it. We're also looking for the big ticket items that really move us forward, which might be fixing retention in the practice, fixing our margins, hiring, moving, or marketing. Those are really the only 5 ways to grow a healthcare practice. Again, those are the big ticket items that really move us forward. So we don't want to get stuck in the weeds about the small things. We've got to keep ourselves big picture, constantly remind us, where are we going? Will this make the boat go faster? And how big a decision really is this? Or should we have a copy of Country Life in the reception area, or should it be Men's Health? I don't know. It's not an important decision. So another framework around decision making is understanding major, medium, and minor decisions. Is this a minor decision, medium decision, or a major decision? Minor decisions, we make them quick. There's no point wasting time. Medium decisions, we make a little bit of effort into them, but major decisions are the ones that we put a bit of time, energy, and effort. So before we obsess about a decision, ask yourself the question, is this medium, minor, major? Where does it fit? Another framework around decision making, again, I'm just going to give you a few frameworks because it's going to fit. One of these will stick with you, is the framework Jeff Bezos uses when he built Amazon, or as he is building Amazon, which is the concept of one-way and two-way doors. So like I say, before we make a decision, where does it fit? How important is this? And his question is, this is a one-way door or is this a two-way door? A two-way door is, well, hang on, if this is a two-way door, let's make the decision. Let's go through the door. Let's see what's on the other side. Let's see if we like what's on the other side. But do you know what? If we don't like what we see, we can come back through it. So it's an impermanent decision. And I think price rises can fit in that as well. If you raised your price and it really didn't work, guess what? You could bring it back down. But what do people do? They obsess for months. Oh my God, I'm so worried. And then they do nothing about it. Well, look, it's a two-way door. Two-way doors we can come back through. There are very, very few one-way doors, right? So often we don't make decisions fast enough, and we should speed up that rate of decision making, just like it's a bit like speeding up the rate of experimentation. You speed up rate of experimentation, then you'll get to your destination faster. Okay, so again, this is all within the framework of we've got our clear vision. Just like Ben Hunt Davis had a clear vision of we want to win Olympic gold. We now have our vision. And all of these decisions around it, medium, minor, major, are they one-way decisions? Two-way doors. Next framework we use, probably the one we use the most, the other ones are sort of guiding principles, is we call it the 3W triad, the 3-win triad, or the CEO triad, if you prefer. And I want you to imagine a triangle. And at the top of the triangle, I want you to write the words patience. On the other point of the triangle, you've got team. And on the other point, business. So when we make a decision about the practice, we've got to ask, is it good for the patient? Is it good for the team? Is it good for the business? Too often in healthcare practices, we obsess about, is it good for the patient? Is it good for the patient? And I'll use price rises again as an example. We go, oh, but the poor patients, oh, will they pay an extra $5? Well, hang on. It's not just about the patient. What about the team? If you're not charging well, you can't pay the team well. So forget about the patients for the moment. This is hurting the team. And what about the business? You know, if the business isn't profitable and the owner is ultimately then having to fund the business or running a charity or is stressed or working 60 hours a week, that's no good either. So we've got to use that 3W triad. Is it good for the team? Is it good for the patients? Is it good for the business? Now, here's a really important mindset shift as well. If you imagine that triad of team, patients, and business, it's tempting to see yourself as the business, right? You fall into that category of, okay, is it good for the business? By that, I'm meaning, is it good for me, my family? Can I go on the holidays I need? Do I have enough freedom? Have I got enough financial security? All that sort of stuff. But I want you to forget that for a moment, because it's a dangerous way of looking at it. Right in the center of that triad, I want you to think of the letter CEO. This is the CEO mindset shift we need to make as practice owners. So rather than getting emotionally attached, I want you to imagine that you have been placed in that business as the CEO. I want you to imagine that you have a board of directors. I'm on the board of directors. 5 other people are on the board of directors. And we've gone, hey, we're putting you in charge of this. And we trust you to make the right decisions for the health of the business as a whole. We don't want you running a charity. You're not allowed to do that. We don't want you running something that's only good for the team or something that's only good for the patients. Your responsibility as CEO is the overall healthcare practice. And imagine how you might behave if you're actually answerable to a board. Like when we work with practices in the Hive, like it's something we work with quite a lot because it helps people externalize the decisions they have to make, because often they feel so guilty and it feels so personal to them that we go, no, hang on, take a step back. If we were to hire you as CEO, what decision will you make? And then suddenly people go, oh, well, I'd do that. I'd get rid of that person, or I'd definitely put the price up. And suddenly when they're in the CEO mindset and they've got a board of directors that they are held accountable to, they know what the right decisions are. So that central piece is the CEO mindset. I think not enough practice owners ever get to that point. And I think it's a really good mental exercise to ask yourself, okay, if I was CEO and this wasn't my business, what decisions would I make about it? And if I really was responsible for the health of this practice, what decisions would I make? Externalize yourself and make decisions that way. A final little one, which it's super important, but a bit of fun. Before I share it, let me just quickly backtrack again. Remember, there's only five ways to really grow a healthcare practice. It's not a million, right? If we come back to what Ben Hunt Davis was talking about, his journey to the Olympics, it wasn't a million different things. They weren't making decisions every 5 minutes. No, most of it was consistent execution towards a clear goal. And most of it was trying to get rid of any potential no's, same as us, right? Do we even need to make this decision? How big is this decision? Okay, let's clear the way. Let's stay focused towards our goal. A lot of the other stuff is just noise. The 5 ways to grow a practice in this very specific order. Number 1, we look at our retention. Before we look at any of the other stuff, are we looking after the patients or we already have? That's new patient rebook rate, cancellations, and DNAs, right? That's the first thing. Always look there first. Tighten up those leaky holes. Next, number 2 is margins, right? Does our model even work? How much are we charging and what are all of our expenses? Are we charging enough? Are we spending too much? Does our model work? Are we using associates where we're giving 50, 60% straight away? Like if you get your margins / model wrong, doesn't matter how good you are at decision making, your numbers, your maths won't work. So we've got retention, then we've got margins. Then we look at if we are, here's some decision making for you. We look at benchmarks. When we're above 75% full, 75, 80% full, we look at hiring. Yeah, so we let the maths, the numbers dictate. And again, like, God, I could go into detail, but we don't make any decisions in a practice unless we've got the data, like we've got a scoreboard. Maybe I'll share that with you in a second. When we're above 75, 80%, we hire. When we're below 75% utilized and we've got people twiddling their thumbs, we market. So that's the fourth thing we do. And when we're full capacity, we move. Those are the big 5 chunks of how to grow a healthcare practice. I'll touch on it quickly now because I talked about having a clear vision with numbers in it. To make good decisions about your practice as well, you must have a scoreboard, right? We don't make decisions based on gut or ego or like sticking our finger in the air and going, hey, I think this is what's happening. We look at the truth of what's happening. I've done another podcast about the 14 numbers you must know in your healthcare practice. It's really, really important. But we look at numbers, we look at them monthly, we put them together so that we can look at them over time because trend is our friend. We don't panic about one day where there were 3 DNAs. No, we look at what's the trend. Okay, well, if there's 10 DNAs each month, and out of 600 patients, it's not a major drama. So we look back at the truth of what's happening. We can only do that if we've got a scoreboard. As part of that, you must have a bookkeeper. If you're waiting about financial decisions and you're not sure about the financial performance of your practice, and your method of doing that is waiting 18 months after the start of a year to the accountant to finally finalize the year-end accounts, and then you look back and you got one P&L, too late to do anything about it. So we want feedback monthly so that we can course correct if we can see we're going off track. We need to be able to look at patient numbers, rebook rate, new patient rebook rate, cancellations, average spend. There's 14 numbers that we look through. It's not very complicated. It's easy when you know how. But on one bit of paper, you can see exactly what's going on in the practice. You can go what's going well, and you can look at what's going underneath the accepted benchmarks. So, for example, DNA is 3% we're okay with, cancellation no rebook 7%, rebook rate and new patient rebook rate 75, ideally 80%, but it depends on the kind of practice you have. So again, that data allows us to then make decisions and shows us what we're doing well. We may need to decide to improve upon. Okay, so what's our focus going to be for this quarter? Well, if the rebook rate for the practice is 50%, that's the thing. Remember, the order of the 5 ways to grow a practice, that's the order we do. If we don't have retention right, that's where we focus on first. So again, clear scoreboards help us make very easy decisions because the maths doesn't lie. The numbers is the numbers is the numbers. And the good thing about numbers is they have no emotion to them. So if we look at our profit and loss and our monthly bookkeeping, where we look at turnover, profit and cash flow, if it shows us that we're doing a good job but we're losing money, we've got to change our model, right? So that's an important decision to make. The numbers help us make those decisions. Get yourselves a scoreboard. And then finally, when it comes to sort of my fun little finish for you, is something that we've adopted. It was originally invented by the Sydney Swans and then taken over by the All Blacks rugby team, one of the greatest sports teams of all time. We have it at the Hive. A lot of our members use it within their practices. And this is around the importance of team culture and team. So when we're making a decision around hiring or firing, our policy is this. We have a no dickhead policy. True story. That's what Sydney Swans, All Blacks, they have is a no dickhead policy. We are really keen to mentor and help people. We always will. But if they're not a good fit for the practice, if they don't pass the no dickhead policy, and sometimes people go through the net, right? If you think they're amazing, they start, and we've got that 6-month probation. If they're not a good fit for the family photo, if their attitude doesn't match how they showed up in the interview, and it turns out they're a bit of a dickhead, then we get rid of them. Because as Judge Judy was saying, no amount of good blueberries will be able to turn one bad blueberry good. Whereas one moldy bad blueberry in a punnet can turn an entire good punnet of blueberries moldy. So we get very black and white about and very protective about the culture of a practice, because ultimately your business is the people who are in there. So there we go. There are a few frameworks about how to make decisions in your practice. Make sure you have a scoreboard. Make sure you have a clear vision, 12 months, 3 to 5 years. Keep yourself in mind of always asking, will this make the boat go faster? You've got two-way doors. You've got medium, minor, major decisions. You've got the 3W triad. Go forth, make some decisions, and hopefully you'll get to your Olympic gold. So look, that's all for this episode of the Optimized Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to our podcast so that you never miss another episode. And don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you want help building a healthcare practice, reach out to us at the Hive and we could show you how to build a profitable, stable, and highly respected practice that can ultimately work without your daily input. See you in the next episode.